Commander Jake Morrison sipped his cold coffee and stared at the endless stars outside Station Olympus. The huge metal platform orbited Jupiter, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. For 3 years, Jake had commanded this listening post. And most days were boring. His job was simple: watch for alien signals and report anything strange to Earth. Tonight felt different. Something was wrong, but Jake could not figure out what. "Commander, you need to hear this." Lieutenant Amy Foster rushed into the control room. Her face was pale, and her hands shook as she held a datapad. Amy was the station's best language expert. She could decode alien messages faster than anyone. "What is it, Amy?" Jake set down his coffee mug and turned to face her. "Sir, we just received a transmission. It's not like anything we've seen before." Amy's voice cracked with excitement and fear. "The signal is coming from the outer rim about 40 light-years away. The aliens are speaking Universal Common, but they sound desperate." Jake felt his heart rate increase. Universal Common was the trade language used by most alien species. Humans had learned it only 20 years ago when they first made contact with other worlds. Most aliens spoke it better than humans did. "Play the message," Jake ordered. Amy pressed a button on her pad. Static filled the room, then a strange voice began speaking. The words were clear, but the accent was unlike anything Jake had heard before. "This is Elder Keth of the Zilani Federation broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Our worlds are under attack. The Vorthak Empire has invaded our space with planet-killer weapons. They are destroying our colonies one by one." The voice paused, and Jake could hear explosions in the background. "We have lost 17 planets in the past month. Our defense fleets are gone. Millions of our people are dead. The Vorthak show no mercy. They kill everyone, adults, children, even our animals." Jake gripped the edge of his control panel. He had heard of the Zilani before. They were peaceful aliens who made the best medicine in the galaxy. Zilani doctors had saved thousands of human lives during the Mars plague 5 years ago. The message continued. "We know humans are new to the galaxy, but we have heard stories about your people. They say you come from a death world. They say you never surrender even when facing impossible odds. We need that strength now." Amy looked at Jake with wide eyes. "Sir, there's more." The alien voice became even more desperate. "We offer everything we have to whoever can help us. Our healing technology, our life extension treatments, our knowledge of cellular repair, all of it. We will share freely with any species that can save our people from extinction." The recording crackled with interference, then the voice spoke again, slower this time. "Please, children of Terra, we know you understand what it means to fight for survival. Your species has done it for millions of years on your harsh world. We have seen how you care for the wounded and protect the weak. Help us now, and we will be forever in your debt." The message ended with a series of numbers, star coordinates pointing to a system in the outer rim. Jake stared at the control panel in silence. Around him, the other crew members had stopped working. Everyone had heard the message. "How long ago was this sent?" Jake asked. "The transmission is 3 days old," Amy replied. "It took that long to reach us across interstellar space." 3 days. Jake rubbed his face with both hands. "Amy, what do you know about these Vorthak?" Amy pulled up files on her datapad. "Not much, sir. They're a military empire from the far side of the galaxy. Intelligence reports say they have been expanding for the past 50 years. They don't negotiate or take prisoners. When they conquer a world, they kill everyone living there." Captain Ben Hughes entered the control room. Ben was the station's military advisor, a tough soldier who had fought in the border wars with the Centauri colonies. "I heard the transmission," Ben said. "Jake, we need to send this to Earth immediately. The Zilani saved a lot of human lives during the plague. We owe them." Jake nodded. "Amy, prepare the message for quantum transmission to Earth. Include all the data we have on both the Zilani and the Vorthak." "Already working on it, sir," Amy said. Her fingers flying over the control panel. Jake walked to the observation window and looked out at Jupiter's swirling clouds. The gas giant looked peaceful from here, but he knew deadly storms raged in its atmosphere. Those storms were nothing compared to what was happening in Zilani space. "Sir," Amy called out. "I'm detecting more transmissions from the same area. Dozens of them. More distress calls? Yes, sir. But these are weaker. I think the Vorthok are jamming their communications." Some of the signals cut off in the middle of transmission. Ben joined Jake at the window. "What do you think Earth will do?" Jake was quiet for a long moment. "I think they'll remember what the Zilani did for us. When half of Mars was dying from that alien virus, Zilani doctors worked around the clock to develop a cure. They didn't ask for payment. They just helped because it was the right thing to do. But this is different," Ben said. "This isn't sending medical supplies. This is war against an empire that has hundreds of warships." "Maybe," Jake replied. "But Amy is right about one thing. We humans don't like bullies. And we really don't like people who hurt our friends." Amy finished preparing the transmission. "Message ready for Earth, sir. Should I send it?" Jake looked at the data one more time. The coordinates pointed to a star system at the very edge of explored space. It would take weeks for any human ship to reach Zilani territory, even using the fastest hyperspace drives, but Jake remembered the stories his grandfather told him about the old Earth Wars. When evil people tried to destroy entire populations, good people had to fight back. It did not matter how dangerous the enemy was or how bad the odds looked. "Send it," Jake ordered. "Mark it as Priority Alpha, make sure it reaches the President and the Defense Council within the hour." Amy pressed the transmission button. The message shot away from Station Olympus at faster-than-light speed, carrying the Zilani plea across the solar system to Earth. Jake returned to his coffee, but it tasted bitter now. Outside the window, Jupiter continued its slow rotation, unaware that somewhere in the darkness of space, an entire civilization was crying out for help. In 6 hours, the message would reach Earth. In 12 hours, it would be on the desk of every important person in human space. What happened after that would depend on whether humans were really as fierce as the galaxy believed. Jake had a feeling they were about to find out. Meanwhile, 40 light-years away, another Zilani city burned under Vorthok bombardment. But the aliens had done something they had never done before. They had asked the humans for help. Now they could only wait and hope that the stories about human determination were true. President Lisa Grant stood in the White House Situation Room at 3 in the morning. The emergency call had woken her from sleep, but now she felt completely awake. Around the large table sat the most powerful people in human space: military leaders, scientists, and diplomats who rarely agreed on anything. "Show me the message again," Lisa said. The holographic display in the center of the room flickered to life. The desperate voice of Elder Keth filled the room once more. Everyone had heard it 3 times already, but the words still sent chills down their spines. Admiral Roy Parker, head of the Terran Navy, cleared his throat. "Madam President, our intelligence on the Vorthok Empire is limited, but what we know is not good news. They command over 800 warships. Their technology focuses on destroying planets, not capturing them," Lisa nodded grimly. "How many ships do we have?" "Our entire Navy has 412 active warships," Admiral Parker replied. "That includes everything from destroyers to our 3 dreadnoughts. If we call up the reserves and colonial defense fleets, we might reach 600 ships total." "So we're outnumbered," Lisa said. "Badly outnumbered," Parker confirmed. "But there's something else, Madam President. Our ships are built differently than theirs. Vorthok vessels are designed for long-range bombardment. Ours are built for close combat. We've been preparing for wars against other humans, not alien empires." Dr. Kate Sullivan, Earth's top expert on alien medicine, leaned forward. "Madam President, we cannot ignore what the Zilani have done for us. When the Mars plague hit 5 years ago, my research team was nowhere close to finding a cure. Zilani doctors worked for months without pay to save our people. 2 million human lives were saved because of their help." "I remember," Lisa said quietly. "My own brother was on Mars during the outbreak. Zilani medicine kept him alive." General Mike Roberts, commander of the Marine Corps, spoke up. The moral argument is clear, but we need to think about strategy too. If the Vorthic destroy the Zilani Federation, where will they go next? Our intelligence suggests they're testing new weapons on Zilani worlds, weapons they plan to use against us eventually. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what the general meant. This was not just about helping friends. This was about stopping an enemy before they became too strong. What about our allies? Lisa asked. The Centauri Republic, the new Geneva Confederation? Admiral Parker shook his head. The Centauri have 50 ships at most. New Geneva has even fewer. The other human colonies are still building their fleets. If we do this, we do it mostly alone. Lisa walked to the window and looked out at the Capitol building. Dawn was breaking over Washington, but she knew that on Mars, Colonel Rick Davis was already mobilizing the Red Planet Defense Fleet. News of the Zilani message had spread quickly through military channels. Admiral, how long would it take to assemble our forces? If we move fast, 72 hours. But Madame President, I have to tell you something else. The message from Station Olympus included reports of volunteer ships gathering at various points across human space. Miners, traders, even some luxury yacht owners are modifying their ships for combat. Lisa turned back to the table. Civilians? Yes. Ma'am, apparently word of the Zilani situation has leaked. People remember the plague. They want to help. Dr. Sullivan pulled up data on her tablet. The response has been incredible. On Europa, Director Helen Moore reports that the orbital shipyards are working around the clock. Workers are volunteering for double shifts without extra pay. They're installing weapons on cargo ships, medical vessels, anything that can fly. This is madness, said Secretary of State William Turner. We're talking about taking civilian ships into combat against a military empire. The casualties will be enormous. General Roberts stood up. With respect, Mr. Secretary, that's exactly the kind of thinking that makes humans different from other species. When someone needs help, we help. We don't calculate the odds first. Meanwhile, 40,000 miles above Earth, Captain Ben Hughes was having similar conversations aboard the orbital defense platform Guardian Station. His communications officer had just handed him a message that made his blood run cold. Sir, we're receiving reports from across the system. Every military base, every colonial fleet, every defense station is reporting the same thing. Volunteers are lining up faster than we can process them. Ben looked at the message. How many so far? Over 50,000 applications in the past. 6 hours, sir, and that's just for ship crews. We have another 30,000 people asking to join ground forces, even though we don't know if there will be ground combat. Ben shook his head in amazement. What about equipment? That's the strangest part, sir. Mining companies are donating their heavy equipment. Medical companies are sending their best doctors and all their supplies. Even restaurants are offering to provide food for the fleet. In the asteroid belt, Sam Peterson shut down his mining laser and sealed his work suit. He had been digging rare metals from space rocks for 15 years, but today was different. Today he was going to war. Jenny, patch me through to the miners. Guild, Sam said to his ship's computer. Connection established, Sam. This is Peterson on Mining Platform 7 Alpha. I want to volunteer my ship for the Zilani mission. How do I sign up? The voice that answered belonged to Guildmaster Tom Bradley. Sam, we've got over 300 miners asking the same question. We're converting our ships at Ceres Station. Can you be there in 18 hours? Already on my way, Sam replied. What kind of weapons are we installing? Whatever we can find. Mining lasers work fine against ship hulls. The engineers are also mounting missile pods on the larger platforms. It won't be pretty, but it'll get the job done. Sam smiled grimly. Tom, my ship might not look like much, but she's tough. My grandfather built her to survive asteroid impacts. I think she can handle a few alien lasers. Back on Earth, President Lisa Grant made her decision. She looked around the Situation Room at the faces of her advisors. Some looked worried, others determined, but all of them understood what was at stake. Admiral Parker, Begin mobilization immediately. Call up every reserve unit, every colonial fleet, every ship that can fly and fight. Send word to our allies that we're honoring our debt to the Zilani Federation. Yes, Madam President. General Roberts, start preparing ground forces. I don't know what we'll find when we reach Zilani space, but I want to be ready for anything. Understood. Ma'am, Lisa turned to Dr. Sullivan. Kate, I want you to coordinate with any Zilani survivors we can contact. We need to know everything about Vorthek tactics and technology. I'll get started immediately, Dr. Sullivan replied. The president walked back to the window. Outside, she could see people gathering in the streets. Word of the Zilani crisis had reached the public, and crowds were forming outside military recruitment centers. There's one more thing, Lisa said without turning around. I want this message broadcast on every human world, every space station, every ship in our territory. The Zilani Federation asked for our help. We're going to give it to them. She paused, thinking about her brother on Mars, about the millions of other lives saved by Zilani medicine. And I want every species in the galaxy to know this. When someone helps humanity, we remember. When someone hurts our friends, we make them pay. Admiral Parker stood up. Madam President, the Vorthek Empire has been conquering worlds for 50 years. They've never faced serious resistance. They think military conquest is just a matter of having bigger ships and more weapons. Lisa finally turned around, and everyone in the room could see the determination in her eyes. Then it's time they learned something about humans, she said. We don't fight fair, we don't give up, and we really don't like bullies. The awakening giant was stirring, and the galaxy was about to discover just how dangerous humans could be when someone threatened their friends. Captain Mike Taylor stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance and watched the most incredible sight of his life. Ships were arriving at the Tau Ceti rally point every hour, creating the largest human fleet in history. The view through the main screen took his breath away. Massive dreadnoughts floated next to tiny patrol boats. Sleek military destroyers moved alongside converted mining ships covered in makeshift armor. Luxury yachts with missile pods welded to their hulls drifted past research vessels equipped with experimental weapons. It was chaos, but it was beautiful chaos. Commander Stone, what's our current count? Mike asked his tactical officer. Commander. Rachel Stone checked her displays. 1,237 ships, sir. And more arriving every hour. We've got vessels from every human colony, every military branch, and about 300 civilian volunteers. Mike shook his head in amazement. In 3 days, we've assembled more ships than most species have in their entire navies. Sir, Chief. Martinez reports that our new power systems are running perfectly, Stone said. The experimental kinetic weapons are ready for testing whenever you give the order. Mike nodded. The Defiance was humanity's newest battleship, equipped with weapons that could punch holes through asteroids. But looking at the mixed fleet around them, he wondered if their advanced technology would be enough. Captain, incoming transmission. From Admiral Parker on the flagship, said Lieutenant Paul Griffin from the communications station. Put him through. Admiral Parker's stern face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Mike could see the bustling command center of the UES Retribution, humanity's largest warship. Captain Taylor, how are your systems? All green, Admiral. The Defiance is ready for whatever we find out there. Good. I want you to take command of Battle Group 7. You'll have 12 ships, including some of our civilian volunteers. Think you can handle leading miners and yacht owners into combat? Mike looked around his bridge crew. Commander Stone was one of the best tactical officers in the fleet. Chief Engineer Tony Martinez could make any machine work, even when it was falling apart. His people were ready. We'll make it work, sir. Excellent. Report to the command briefing in 2 hours. Parker out. The screen went dark and Mike turned to his crew. You heard the man. Stone, I want full diagnostics on all weapon systems. Martinez, check the engines one more time. Griffin, open a channel to our assigned ships. An hour later, Mike met his new squadron commanders in the Defiance's briefing room. The group was unlike any military unit he had ever seen. Captain Frank Williams commanded a squadron of converted civilian ships. He was a former merchant captain who had volunteered his luxury liner for the mission. His ship now carried enough missiles to destroy a space station. Captain Taylor, my people might not be military, but they know how to fly, and they know how to fight. My engineer used to work on military vessels before he started fixing tourist ships. My gunner was a Marine for 10 years before she became a pilot. Mike studied Frank's file? Your ship used to carry passengers to vacation planets? Yes, sir. The Golden Star. She's not fast and she's not pretty, but we've added enough armor to stop most weapons. And the missile launchers we installed can reach targets 20,000 kilometers away. Dr. Alex Chun entered the briefing room carrying medical reports. As the fleet's chief medical officer, he had been working with Zilani survivors who had escaped the Vorthek attacks. Gentlemen, I have new intelligence about our enemy. The Zilani refugees have provided detailed information about Vorthek tactics and ship designs. Dr. Chun activated a holographic display showing alien spacecraft. The Vorthek ships were long and narrow, covered with weapon mounts and armor plating. Vorthek vessels are built for long-range combat. They prefer to stay far away and bombard their targets with heavy weapons. Their ships are fast and well-armed, but they have weaknesses. What kind of weaknesses? Mike asked. Their armor is strongest in the front and weakest on the sides and rear. More importantly, Vorthek commanders are not used to facing enemies who fight at close range. Most species they surrender after losing a few ships. Frank leaned forward. What happens when they face people who don't surrender? We're about to find out, Dr. Chun replied. The Zilani also told me something else. Vorthek crews are trained for systematic conquest, not desperate fighting. They expect their enemies to follow predictable patterns, Mike smiled grimly. Then they definitely haven't fought humans before. Later that day, Mike toured some of the civilian ships in his squadron. What he found amazed him. The converted mining vessel Iron Mountain had been transformed into a mobile weapons platform. Her captain, Sam Peterson, had worked for 3 days, straight installing military-grade shields and missile launchers. Captain Peterson, this is incredible work. How did you mount these weapon systems so quickly? Sam wiped grease from his hands with a dirty cloth. Captain Taylor, I've been modifying mining equipment for 15 years. Weapons aren't that different from ore processors. You just point them at different targets. Sam led Mike through the ship's cramped corridors. Every space had been converted for war. The passenger cabins now stored ammunition. The dining hall had become a backup command center. Even the observation deck had been fitted with emergency repair stations. My crew volunteered to stay, every single one of them. My engineer Betty Morrison has been working 20-hour days to keep our systems running. My navigator Joe Adams used to serve on military ships before he joined the mining guild. Mike was impressed. What made you volunteer for this mission? Sam stopped walking and looked Mike in the eyes. Captain, 5 years ago, my daughter was on Mars when the plague hit. She was only 8 years old. The doctor said she would die within days. Sam's voice became quiet. Then the Zilani arrived. They worked around the clock to develop a cure. They didn't ask for money or trade agreements. They just helped because children were dying. My daughter is alive today because of them. Mike nodded. He had heard similar stories from dozens of volunteers. Now it's our turn to help, Sam continued. My ship might not look like much, but she's tough and my crew knows how to use her. We'll do whatever it takes. As Mike returned to the Defiance, he received reports from across the fleet. The massive assembly was almost complete. Ships from the farthest human colonies had arrived, bringing the total to over 1,300 vessels. The diversity was staggering. Military dreadnoughts designed to fight other battleships. Fast destroyers built for patrol duties. Converted. Cargo ships loaded with supplies. Research vessels equipped with experimental weapons. Mining platforms carrying industrial equipment that could be used as weapons. Commander Stone met Mike as he entered the bridge. Sir, we just received word from Admiral Parker. The final briefing is in 6 hours. After that, we jump to hyperspace. Mike looked at the main screen showing the assembled fleet. Thousands of ships floated in formation, their running lights creating a field of stars against the darkness of space. Each ship represented people who had volunteered to travel 40 light years to help strangers. Commander, send a message to all ships in our battle group. Tell them we're honored to serve alongside them. Yes, sir. Mike walked to his command chair and sat down. In a few hours, this massive fleet would jump to hyperspace and begin the journey to Zilani space. They would face an enemy that had conquered 17 star systems and commanded twice as many ships. But as Mike looked at the incredible armada surrounding them, he felt something that the Vorthic Empire probably did not understand. He felt hope. These ships carried more than weapons and soldiers. They carried the determination of an entire species that refused to let evil win. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone threatened humanity's friends, and Mike had a feeling. The Vorthic Empire was not going to like the lesson. The human armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system like a storm breaking over calm waters. Captain Mike Taylor felt his stomach lurch as the Defiance completed the jump, but the sight on his main screen made him forget any discomfort. The Zilani homeworld hung in space like a blue and green jewel, but it was surrounded by death. Vorthic warships formed a tight blockade around the planet, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. Explosions flashed on the planet's surface, where orbital bombardment continued without mercy. "Contact report," Mike called out. "Commander Rachel." Stone's fingers flew over her tactical display. "I count 412 Vorthok vessels, sir. Most are concentrated around the planet, but they have patrol groups spread throughout the system." "What about our fleet?" "All ships have completed the jump. Admiral Parker is broadcasting formation orders now." Mike watched as 1,300 human ships spread into battle formation. It was the most beautiful and terrifying sight he had ever seen. Massive dreadnoughts took the center, while destroyers and cruisers formed the flanks. The converted civilian ships grouped together in the rear, ready to support wherever needed. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Parker," Lieutenant Griffin reported. Admiral Parker's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, the command center of the UES Retribution buzzed with activity as officers prepared for the largest battle in human history. "All ships, this is Admiral Parker. The enemy has spotted us and is moving to intercept. They're forming a defensive line between us and the planet. Remember, our job is not just to defeat their fleet. We need to reach that planet and evacuate as many Zilani as possible." Parker paused, and Mike could see the determination in the old admiral's eyes. The Vorthak think they're fighting another peaceful species that will run when things get difficult. They don't know humans. Show them what people from a death world can do. All ships, attack. The human fleet surged forward like a massive wave. The Vorthak formation moved to meet them, but something was wrong with their response. Their ships maintained perfect formation, keeping optimal distance for their long-range weapons. "Sir, the enemy is trying to engage us at maximum range," Commander Stone reported. "They want to use their superior firepower to stop us before we can close distance," Mike smiled. "Then let's not give them what they want. All ships in Battle Group 7, maximum acceleration. We're going straight through their lines." The Defiance and her escort ships rushed toward the enemy formation at full speed. Around them, the rest of the human fleet did the same thing. Instead of fighting a careful, long-range battle, the humans were charging directly into the teeth of Vorthic firepower. "Sir, enemy weapons are locking onto us," Stone warned. "Evasive maneuvers. Return fire as soon as we're in range." The space between the fleets filled with weapon fire. Vorthak plasma beams reached out like deadly fingers, trying to stop the human charge. But the human ships kept coming, weaving through the enemy fire with a desperation the Vorthak had never seen before. The first human ships reached the enemy line and chaos erupted. The destroyer UES Falcon, her armor burning from multiple hits, rammed directly into a Vorthak cruiser. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire, but the impact created a gap in the enemy formation. "All ships through the gap." Admiral Parker's voice crackled over the communications. Mike watched as human ships poured through the opening, created by the Falcon's sacrifice. But the Vorthak were already closing ranks, trying to seal the breach. "Chief Martinez, how much power can you give me?" Mike called to his engineering station. Chief Engineer Tony Martinez's voice came back immediately. "Captain, I can overload the reactor and give you twice normal power for about 10 minutes. After that, we'll need to shut down for repairs." "Do it." The Defiant suddenly accelerated like a rocket. Mike felt the artificial gravity struggle to compensate as his ship rushed toward the largest Vorthak vessel in the enemy formation. "Sir, that's their flagship," Stone warned. "It's got enough firepower to destroy us. Not if we hit them first. Target their main weapons and fire everything we have." The Defiance's experimental kinetic weapons opened fire. Solid metal projectiles, traveling at incredible speed, slammed into the Vorthak flagship's armor. The enemy ship staggered under the impact, but its return fire was devastating. "Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12, Martinez reported. "We can't take much more of this." Mike made a decision that would have horrified any sane military commander. "Martinez, prepare to overload the main reactor. If we're going down, we're taking them with us." But before he could give the final order, Captain Frank Williams and his converted luxury liner Golden Star appeared beside the Defiance, the civilian ship, bristling with hastily installed weapons, poured missile fire into the Vorthak flagship. "Captain Taylor, this is Williams. My ship's not as tough as yours, but we've got more missiles than we know what to do with." The combined firepower from both ships finally broke through the enemy flagship's defenses. The massive Vorthak vessel began to list to one side, emergency lights flashing along its hull. Meanwhile, other battles raged throughout the system. Sam Peterson's mining ship Iron Mountain used her industrial equipment to tear apart Vorthak fighters. Her mining lasers, designed to cut through solid rock, sliced enemy ships in half. On the planet's surface, General Claire Adams led the ground assault. Her dropships had punched through the orbital blockade and landed in the middle of Zilani refugee camps. The fighting was brutal and close range, exactly the kind of combat humans excelled at. Major Steve Carter led his Marines through the burning streets of a Zilani city. Vorthak ground forces had superior equipment, but they were not prepared for human tactics. Squad 2 flanked them from the left. Squad 3 suppressing fire. "We need to reach that refugee center before the Vorthak bring up heavy weapons." The Marines moved like ghosts through the rubble, using every piece of cover to get closer to their enemies. When they finally struck, it was with a ferocity that shocked the Vorthak soldiers. "Sir, the aliens are retreating," Sergeant Linda Foster reported. "They've never seen close combat like this before." Back in space, the battle was reaching its climax. The human fleet had broken through the Vorthak formation, but at terrible cost. Over 200 human ships had been destroyed, and many more were badly damaged, but the Vorthak were suffering too. Their precise formations had collapsed under the human assault. Ships that had dominated 17 star systems were being destroyed by converted mining vessels and luxury yachts. The turning point came when Chief Martinez made the ultimate sacrifice. The Defiance's reactor was failing, damaged by enemy fire, and the strain of overloaded systems. "Captain, the reactor's going critical." "I can't stop it," Martinez reported from the engineering deck. Mike felt his heart sink. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 5 minutes." "But sir, if I manually detonate the reactor, I can turn us into a massive kinetic weapon. We could take out their entire command group." Mike stared at the main screen. The Vorthak flagship was only a few kilometers away, surrounded by their most powerful warships. A reactor explosion at this range would destroy them all. "Tony, you don't have to do this. We can evacuate the ship?" "Captain, with respect, yes I do. My sister was on Mars during the plague. The Zilani saved her life. This is payback time." Before Mike could argue, Martinez had sealed the engineering deck and begun the overload sequence. "All hands abandon. Ship, this is Chief Martinez. It's been an honor serving with you all." The crew of the Defiance evacuated in record time, their escape pods picked up by other human ships. Mike was the last to leave. Watching through the escape pod's window as his ship became a guided missile, the Defiance struck the Vorthic flagship at full speed. The combined explosion lit up half the star system, destroying 6 enemy warships in a single blast. The psychological impact on the remaining Vorthok forces was immediate and devastating. "Sir, enemy ships are breaking formation," Commander Stone reported from their rescue ship. "They're retreating from the planet." Admiral Parker's voice came over the fleet communications. "All ships, pursue and destroy. Don't let them regroup." But Mike was watching something else. Human ships were already moving toward the planet, beginning the massive evacuation of Zilani civilians. Despite the ongoing battle, rescue operations were already underway. The Vorthek Empire had conquered 17 star systems, because they had never faced an enemy willing to sacrifice everything for victory. They had never fought people who would turn their own ships into weapons rather than accept defeat. Today they learned what it meant to fight humans. Today they discovered why the galaxy called Earth a death world, and they would never forget the lesson. 3 days after the Battle of Kepler 442, Captain Mike Taylor stood in the medical bay of the rescue ship Mercy, watching Zilani children receive treatment from human doctors. The alien youngsters looked like tall, graceful humans with silver skin and large, gentle eyes. Many were injured, but all were alive because of what the human fleet had accomplished. Dr. Alex Chun approached with a datapad in his hands. "Captain, the final casualty reports are in. We lost 287 ships and over 50,000 people, but we saved them all." Mike looked through the window at the massive evacuation fleet floating in orbit around the Zilani homeworld. Over 2 million Zilani civilians had been rescued from the planet's surface. Human ships of every type had been converted into temporary refugee vessels. What about the Vorthak fleet? Completely destroyed. Admiral Parker's final report shows that not a single enemy ship escaped the system. We also found evidence that this was just one of their attack fleets. They have other forces spread across the galaxy, but this was their main strike force. Mike nodded grimly. "So we stopped them here, but the war isn't over." "No, but something else has happened, sir. Something the Vorthak never expected." Dr. Chun activated his datapad, showing messages from across the galaxy. "Word of the battle has spread faster than we thought possible. Every species in known space has heard about what humans did here. The reaction has been ... interesting." The first message was from the Centauri Republic. Ambassador Peter Clark had been flooded with communications from alien governments asking about human military capabilities. The message that followed made Mike's eyes widen. "The Arcturus Confederation wants to form a military alliance with humanity," Dr. Chun continued. "So do the Rigel Trade Union, the Alpha Centauri colonies, and 6 other species. Apparently everyone is suddenly very interested in being friends with the people who destroyed an entire Vorthak fleet." Mike sat down heavily in a nearby chair. 3 months ago, most aliens barely knew we existed. Now they want us as allies? It gets more interesting. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session. They want humanity to take a permanent seat on the governing body. And the Vorthak Empire has sent peace negotiators for the first time in 50 years. Through the medical bay windows, Mike could see the Golden Star docking with his Zilani hospital ship. Captain Frank Williams was personally overseeing the transfer of wounded civilians to better medical facilities. His luxury liner had taken heavy damage in the battle, but Frank had refused to leave until every Zilani refugee was safely evacuated. Dr. Kate Sullivan entered the medical bay carrying a sealed container. "Captain Taylor, I wanted you to see this personally. It's from Elder Keth, the Zilani leader who sent the original distress call." Mike opened the container and found a small crystal device along with a handwritten note. The writing was in perfect English, though the style was clearly alien. "Captain Taylor and the brave humans of the rescue fleet. We have no words to express our gratitude. Your people traveled across the galaxy to help strangers, knowing you might not survive. This is the highest honor we can give our complete medical database. including treatments that extend life by centuries and healing techniques that can repair any injury. Mike looked up at Dr. Sullivan. They're giving us everything. Everything. Life extension, cellular repair, disease cures we never imagined possible. The Zilani keep their promises, Captain, but there's more. Dr. Sullivan smiled. Elder Keth also included a personal message. He said that humans are now considered honorary members of the Zilani Federation. Any human who needs medical care will receive it freely, anywhere in Zilani space. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Lisa Grant was dealing with the political aftermath of the battle. The White House Situation Room was packed with military leaders, diplomats, and scientists trying to understand how completely the galaxy had changed in just a few days. Madam President, Admiral Parker said via holographic transmission from the fleet. I've been contacted by 17 different alien species asking for military assistance. Apparently, the Vorthic Empire has been threatening a lot of people, but nobody had the courage to fight them until we showed up. General Claire Adams, who had just returned from the ground fighting on the Zilani homeworld, added her report. The Vorthic ground forces surrendered as soon as their fleet was destroyed. They've never faced an enemy that fought back this hard. Our tactics completely confused them. Lisa looked at the reports covering her desk. In 3 days, humanity had gone from a minor species to the most feared military power in known space. What do our allies want from us? Protection, Admiral Parker replied simply. The Centauri Republic wants us to help them defend their outer colonies. The Rigel Trade Union is offering us exclusive trading rights if we'll patrol their shipping lanes. Everyone wants human ships in their territory. Ambassador Peter Clark joined the conversation from the Galactic Council Station. Madam President, the political situation is changing rapidly. Species that ignored us for decades are now sending ambassadors to Earth. The Vorthic Empire, which has never negotiated with anyone, wants to discuss peace terms. What kind of terms? Complete withdrawal from Zilani space, reparations for the damage they caused, and a promise to stop their expansion. They're also offering to share their military technology in exchange for a guarantee that we won't attack. Their core systems? Lisa sat back in her chair. They're scared of us. Terrified would be more accurate. The Vorthak built their empire by convincing other species that resistance was hopeless. We proved that wrong. Now every conquered planet is considering rebellion. On Mars, Colonel Rick Davis was dealing with a different kind of problem. Thousands of young people were lining up at military recruitment centers, all wanting to join the fleet that had become famous across the galaxy. Sir, we've got more volunteers than we can handle, reported Lieutenant Amy Foster, who had been transferred from Station Olympus to help with recruitment. Word of the battle has inspired people from every human colony. They want to be part of the force that protects innocent aliens from bullies. Rick looked at the crowds outside the recruitment center. Any word from the outer colonies? New Geneva is expanding their fleet by 300%. The asteroid miners are forming their own military unit. Even the research stations are asking for weapons installations. Everyone wants to be ready for the next crisis. Back in Zilani space, Sam Peterson was supervising repairs to his mining ship Iron Mountain. The vessel had taken heavy damage in a battle, but Sam was determined to get her flying again. Betty, how long until we're space-worthy? He called to his engineer. Betty Morrison looked up from a damaged power coupling. 2 more days, boss. But I've got to ask, why are we fixing her up? The war's over. We could go home. Sam looked out at the rescue fleet still working to evacuate Zilani civilians. Because this isn't over, Betty. The Vorthak might have stopped here, but there are other bullies out there. Other people who need help. Sam pointed to a group of Zilani children playing near a human medical station. My daughter is alive because aliens helped her when she was sick. Now it's our turn to help. We showed the galaxy that humans don't back down from a fight, but more importantly, we showed them that we protect people who can't protect themselves. As the weeks passed, the legend of the Battle of Kepler 442 grew. The story spread from species to species, changing slightly with each telling but always maintaining the same core truth. Humans had traveled across the galaxy to help strangers, knowing they might die in the attempt. The term Deathworlder took on new meaning. Where once it had been used mockingly to describe humans as primitives from a harsh planet, it now became a title of respect and fear. Other species began to understand that humans didn't just come from a dangerous world, they brought that danger with them wherever they went, but they also brought something else, the absolute refusal to let evil win when they had the power to stop it. Admiral Parker's final report to Earth summarized the new reality. The galaxy now understands what humanity represents. We are not the strongest species or the most advanced. But we are the ones who show up when innocent people are in danger. We are the ones who fight when others surrender. We are the guardians now, whether we ask for the job or not. In the months that followed, human fleets would patrol trade routes, protect peaceful colonies, and respond to distress calls from across known space. The Terran Defense Force grew from 600 ships to over 3,000 as humanity embraced its new role as the galaxy's protector, and whenever young aliens heard stories of monsters and bullies, their parents would tell them not to worry. They would explain that somewhere among the stars, the humans were watching, ready to help anyone who needed them. The legend of the Deathworlder Armada had begun.